First half of 11.4, graph quadratic functions, which are parabolas. All right, so you will recognize these by the ax squared form. So what I want you to do first, I want you to look, if you look at page 805, there's actually a really cool example of this, and it will be much cooler than mine, but let's just do it quick here to see. I'm going to try to do these in separate colors so that you can see what happens when you change this a. So x squared is that tells us, okay, we've got a parabola here. If there's an x squared and there's not a y squared going on, we know we've got a parabola. All right. So once we've got the parabola, we need to know, okay, well, what shape is it? Does it open up? Does it open down? Is it wide? Well, I'm going to show you. This is so cool. All right. First, let's just graph these one by one. So 1/4 x squared, and I'm going to go fast, so if you want to know exactly where did you get those, then back me up later, and we'll talk in class about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 1, positive and negative 1. So for x, I'm going to put 1, and 1 squared is 1 times 1/4 is 1/4. So, and negative will be the same. All right? And if I put in 2, so, I'm sorry, I'm going to stay in here. And if I put in 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4. So 4/4 is 1. So I'll have a point right here. And then I put in 3. 3 squared is 9. And 9 divided by 4 is 9/4, which is 2 1/4. So 1, 2, and a little bit. So here's the graph. 1, 2. Here's the graph of that one. And when 0 is just 0, right? 0 squared is 0, and that's just 0. So my vertex, do you remember, did we talk about the word vertex? The vertex of the parabola is where it turns. All right? So the vertex is in here. That's the place where it turns. And right now it's going to be the origin. Let's do the same thing. So now this is x is 1/4 x. Is green. Blue is going to be 1/2 x squared. So now we're going to take 1. 1 squared is 1, and half of that is a half, so that's going to be in here. 2 squared is 4, and half of 4 is 2, so that's going to be up here. 1, 2, up here. And 3 squared is 9, and half of 9 is 4.5, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4.5, so it's going to be up here. So now we can see, whoa, oh, in my lovely drawing. So blue is 1/2. So let's just do x squared real quick. So x squared, this one's going to be easy. So 0 is just 0. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is up in here. 3 squared is 9, so that's going to be way up here somewhere. So now, can you see what's happening to my graph? I've got the same general format of x squared, and I'm taking it times 1/4 times 1/2. As I multiply it by a smaller and a smaller number, it gets wider and wider, which actually doesn't. In my brain, I would think it would be the opposite. But as we get smaller and smaller, we get wider and wider. So it's almost like it's getting squished flatter and flatter. So smaller, flatter would widen it out. So let's try the 2, and I don't know if you can see this orange marker. We'll find out. So let's try 0 is still going to be 0. 0 squared is 0 times 2 is still 0. 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. So, oh, looky here, it's going to be even more narrow. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And so that's going to be way up here somewhere. And then 3 squared is 9. 9 is 18. That's going to be like, zoop. So sure enough, we got skinnier and skinnier. I don't know if you can see the orange one, but that's okay. So then what happens, let's look at the same thing. What happens if we take it times a negative 1/4? Well, can you guess? All right. You're going to end up with the same values, right? The same values that we did up here. So 1 is still going to be 1/4, but now it's going to be negative 1/4. So it's going to go down here. And 2 is still going to be 1, but now it's going to be negative 1. All right. And 3 is still going to be, what was that? 2 1/4. 1, 2 1/4. But now it's going to be negative 2 1/4. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. All right. So, and I'm not going to do all of them just for the sake of time. What happens is this. Let me show you. You will need this information. That will help you to generalize. In a quadratic formula, if you've got a parabola that you're graphing, if the A is positive, your parabola is going to open up. If the A is negative, your parabola is going to open down. And the larger the A is, the more narrow that graph will be. It's like it's stretching it taller and taller. And the smaller that A is, the wider it becomes. It's like it's squishing it flatter and flatter. All right? So that's going to help you with the general shape. So there's a lot of times when, in all honesty, you don't have to plot a lot of points. Just if you know the general shape, you can just graph it. All right? If you need to get like 1 or 2 points, and then you're good to go. All right? So the next thing I want you to look at is, well, what happens? Not all quadratic formula or quadratic functions are just ax squared. What if you add something to that? What if you have ax squared plus something, plus a k? Well, let's look. Let's say we have, let's just do this one. Let's say 1/4 x squared. Let's say we're going to say let's say plus 2. All right. So now let's go down on this graph. I didn't put my little hash marks. Not that it matters much. I'll tell you what, I'm just a mess when it comes to these things. Wow, that's not even close to the same. That's okay. Here we go. So when we do that, now we have, when we put in 0, now you have to be careful, okay? So 0 squared is 0 times 1/4 is still 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. So now we have a point right here. All right? So now when we take 1, we're going to do plus and minus 1. 1 squared is still 1. And 1 times 1/4 is 1/4. But now we have 1/4 plus 2. So we're going to go 2 and 1/4. And we're going to have a negative 1 over, and we still get 2 and 1/4 for the y. Do you see what's happening? So then if we take 3, 3 squared is still 9, and 9/4 is still 2 and 1/4, but now we're adding 2 to that. So now we have 2 and 1/4 plus 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1/4. So we have the same general shape, except this graph was like really messy. We have the same general shape, we just shifted up 2. And what happens, let's just do this one for yucks and grins. Let's do this one. Let's say this is going to be 2x squared. Let's say this is minus 2. Let's see what happens here. So now this one, remember, was this orange one that you can't see, I'm sure. This skinny one, so let's see. So now we have 0 squared is 0, times 2 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2. So now we're starting down here, right? And now x squared, so 1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. So now we have a point here and here. We're not going to go up or down at all. And now we have, let's go over to the 2. 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 8. So 8 minus 2 is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got this same skinny shape that we had up here in the orange, but instead of starting on the origin, we started 2 down. All right? So what happens here, I didn't write it up extra. Here we go. So the K, actually, let's just add it right here. So the K tells you, this tells you you're going to move the vertex. You're going to move the vertex up or down that number. So you're going to start either up or down this much. All right? Now in the same way, if you add or subtract something to this x inside this before you square it, this is going to move it left or right. All right? So here's your formula completely for a parabola. So the formula for a parabola is the function of x, the function of your parabola is a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. And what you'll know is this. These are the things that you'll know just by looking at this formula. Once your equation is in this format, you can know a lot of things. We just said the A tells you up or down, and then wide or narrow. All right, that's what you know from the A. The H is going to tell you, and now be careful, this is minus. So whatever this is that's sitting there, whatever number that's sitting there, you're going to do the opposite. So what this is going to do is this is going to move the graph left or right. We didn't actually graph one of those. We should do that. All right, so the H is going to move it left or right. This is going to be a left or right shift. And that's going to be how much it's going to move. And the K is an up or down shift. So your vertex, the place where you start, you can know the vertex by HK. So H, so when you first start, what you'll do is, and we'll see, I'll just give you, let's just look at one. I'll give you -2 x plus 1 squared plus 3, and we're going to graph it right on here. All right, so here's what you know. You know that your vertex is -1, 3. You know that it opens down because of this negative. And you know that because you're multiplying by a 2, it's going to be fairly narrow because it's bigger than 1. All right, so it's going to be narrow. So what you'll do is this. You'll go to the vertex. You'll go -1, 1, 2, 3, and you'll plot a point. There's your vertex. And now it opens down, and it's fairly narrow. So you just open down narrow, and you're done. All right? I'll see you next time. We'll do some more of this.